All set to go here with all the different different stuff I get to do. So, welcome. It's so nice to see fresh faces and stuff like that. I'll get a chance to talk to you afterwards if I haven't so far. So, take a breath and just get ready to absorb a little bit here, maybe. So, let me ask you something. How much of your life do you live by intention? And how much of your life by momentum? How often are you consciously choosing how you choose to show up? And how often are you simply reacting to whatever comes next? Today is not about discovering a purpose. Today is about learning how to live on purpose. Because being on purpose is not about finding something outside yourself. It's about becoming conscious of how you live, moment by moment. So this month we've been exploring your reason for being, not as a task or an assignment, but as a sacred relationship with the God of our being. First, Reverend Joanne invited us to anchor in God's love, reminding us that when life's seas become stormy, we do not need to control the waves. We know where we are anchored. Then Reverend Debbie led us in celebrating YOU, grounded in Holmes' teaching that there is multiplicity in the one, and the infinite expresses uniquely through each and every one of us. And then last week, Reverend Joanne helped us continue this celebration, and we went deeper, exploring the rights and responsibilities that come along with being an individualized expression of spirit. And so today we'll take another step, not asking what is my purpose, but asking how do I live on purpose, consciously, intentionally, awake as the expression I already am. The psychologist and philosopher Erich Fromm wrote about two fundamental ways of living, what he called the mode of having and the mode of being. In fact, Fromm wrote a book titled The Art of Being, exploring how deeply the distinction shapes our experience of life. Interestingly enough, another new thought author, Dennis Merritt Jones, also wrote a book called The Art of Being. Two very different authors from different eras and perspectives, yet both pointing toward the same profound realization. Being is not passive. It is essential to living consciously. So what did Fromm mean by having versus being? Well, the having mode is how we are taught to live in most cases. In the having mode, life becomes something we accumulate. We collect achievements, we collect roles, we collect possessions, we even collect spiritual experiences, hoping that if we gain enough insight and enough success, enough validation, we will finally feel secure in being complete. In the having mode, our inner dialogue is like, what do I need to get next? What do I need to accomplish next? Who do I need to become in order to be enough? And here's the subtle part. Even spirituality can have a form of having. We try to have peace. We try to have enlightenment. We try to have certainty. But the more we chase life this way, the more it can feel like something we must manage or control. Now, the being mode is different. Being asks, how am I present right now? Am I awake to this moment? Instead of trying to acquire life, we begin to inhabit it. You can feel the difference in ordinary moments. In the having mode, you walk into a conversation already prepared to say what you're going to say next. In the being mode, you listen. In the having mode, you rush through the day trying to get somewhere else. In the being mode, you notice where you are. In the having mode, life feels like a checklist. In the being mode, life becomes experience. Dennis Merritt Jones in his book, The Art of Being, describes a shift as moving from striving toward authenticity, learning to live from awareness rather than from unconscious patterns. The art of being is not passive. It is alive. It is participatory. Life stops feeling like something we must manage. And when we shift, we have from having to being, some profound changes happen. And it begins to feel like we are consciously inhabiting life. Being begins when we notice, when we realize we have a choice, and when we participate consciously in the moment. I'd like to invite us into a sacred moment of imagination, a widening beyond a familiar edge of everyday identity. So if you're comfortable, take a deep breath, close your eyes, Now take a second deep breath. Let it out, feeling everything just melt away. And allow yourself to settle gently into this moment. And imagine awareness, opening, spacious, vast, without boundary. Imagine before this body, before your name, before any story you carry about yourself, before the experiences that shaped your personality, before the labels you've learned to answer to, before the sense of yourself as separate or defined by circumstance. Imagine yourself as pure being, one with spirit, not guided by spirit from a distance, but arising within the one life itself. Imagine resting there. No striving, no comparison, no need to become anything. Only awareness, only presence, like a wave resting within the ocean before it rises into form. Perhaps it feels like light. Perhaps it feels like vibration, or a vast field of quiet intelligence that knows itself as love. Rumi did right. You're not the drop in the ocean, but you are the entire ocean in a drop. And in that timeless field of being, nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be fixed. And yet, something begins to move. Not because anything is lacking, but because life expresses spirit itself through individuality. And imagine, no words are spoken aloud, but a deep inner knowledge, spirit recognizing itself as you. An invitation arises from within the infinite itself. Will you experience life through a unique point of awareness? Will you feel, create, love, discover, and grow? And from that field of unity, you say yes. Not from obligation, not because you must, because expression itself is joy. And as an awareness begins to focus into human experience, there's a gentle knowing, almost like a whisper arising from within presence itself. Spirit whispers. You may temporarily identify only with the human story. You may forget the vastness from which you arise, but the truth of who you are will never leave you. And so you step forward from timeless awareness into lived experience, from boundlessness into breath, not leaving spirit, but becoming spirit in motion. And from that awareness comes the capacity to notice, to choose, to participate in life as spirit expressing. And now gently return to this moment and into this room, and realize that this sacred origin is not separate from your life today. You didn't leave that presence behind, you brought it with you. That quiet longing to live more consciously, that desire to be fully present. It's not something new you must discover, it's remembering. And being on purpose right there, not by becoming something else, but by living from what has already been true. There are two ways we can go through life, intentionally or accidentally. Living accidentally doesn't mean we are careless or bad people. It simply means we are moving from one habit to the next without noticing we have a choice. We wake up and immediately reach for our cell phone before we reach for our presence. We move through conversations already planning what we will say next instead of truly listening. We rush from task to task, believing that we will finally arrive somewhere, only to discover we didn't know where we already were. Accidental living is habit, it's reaction, it's autopilot. But intentional living feels different. Intentional living pauses. Intentional living notices. Intentional living asks, how do I choose to show up right now? This is the shift. We notice what's happening. We choose how to respond, and we participate consciously. Being on purpose means waking up inside your own life. Not controlling every moment, but participating consciously. You still go to work. You still have conversations. You still live the ordinary life, but something shifts. Instead of drifting from one experience to another, you begin to inhabit it. And that shift from reaction to participation is where being on purpose begins. There's a choice point, and this is where something important happens. Most of us think change happens with big decisions, but being on purpose rarely begins with something dramatic. It begins so small in moments, the moments we usually overlook. The pause before you respond in a conversation. The moment you notice you are rushing. The instant you react from habit instead of awareness. That tiny space is the doorway. Because in that moment, you are no longer asleep inside your patterns. You're awake enough to choose. And being on purpose does not require you to change your entire life. It simply asks, will I meet this moment consciously? There are simple ways to practice these things: noticing, choosing, and participating. So what does it mean to live on purpose? It's not a rigid system. It's not a formula to follow. It's not a checklist to complete once and for all. It's actually an art. The science gives us principle, the understanding that life expresses through us. But the art is how we live that understanding. And art is never mechanical. Art is alive. Art is creative. Art is practiced. Being on purpose is the art of bringing awareness into action. It is choosing how you show up in the moment, not perfectly, but consciously. Like any art form, it is learned through experience and practice. You refine it, you explore it, you make adjustments, and sometimes you forget, and then you return again. Each conversation becomes part of the practice. Each decision becomes part of the canvas. Each moment becomes an opportunity to express awareness more fully. There's no single correct way to live on purpose. Sorry. But Spirit expresses itself uniquely through each one of us, and that's why it's different for everyone. The art lies in noticing. Dennis Merritt Jones, in his book, The Art of Being, and a number of you have probably read that, I assume. And my favorite words from this book are awareness, awareness, awareness. No matter what you're doing, being aware is the first place that things start. If you're not aware that you're living by habit, it's hard to change it. A lot of things in life are like that. If you're not aware of something, you can't change it. If you're not aware you're drinking too much, you can't change it. If you're not aware you're being, I won't say the word, you can't change it. So in choosing and participating, not trying to control life, but learning to meet life creatively and consciously. And when awareness enters action, something shifts. Ordinary moments begin to feel sacred. Not because life changes, but because you are present within it. So here are some practices for being on purpose. If being on purpose is art, these are not rules, they are ways of practicing awareness through action. Different brushstrokes you can bring into ordinary life. The first one, begin with one intentional action. Start something consciously. Open a door, take a step, speak a word. Let yourself feel the difference between acting automatically and acting intentionally. Being on purpose often begins with simply doing one thing fully awake. Number 2, listen as practice. In your next conversation, let listening be the action, not preparing your response, not solving, not just listening. Presence becomes tangible when attention becomes the offering. Number 3, change the rhythm. Slow down one ordinary activity. Maybe walk slightly slower. Eat one bite consciously. Speak one sentence with intention. Changing rhythm interrupts habit and brings you back into awareness. Number 4, offer something deliberately. Give encouragement. Express gratitude. Extend kindness. When you act from intention rather than reaction, you become aware of spirit expressing through you. And the 5th one, create a moment of beauty. Notice something beautiful. Arrange something. Speak something uplifting. Artistry enters life when you choose to create rather than merely moving through the experience. So before you knew you were a personality, before you learned the stories that you carry today, you were being, as we said before. Not separate from life with a capital L, but arising within it. And that has never changed. You are still the presence, now moving, speaking, loving, and creating through the human experience. Being on purpose is not about something new. It is about remembering to live awake inside the life you already have. Each moment invites you. Each conversation invites you. Each step invites you to notice, to choose, and to participate. Not to be perfect, but present. Not to control life, but meet life consciously. And every time you notice, every time you choose, every time you act with awareness, you will say yes again. Yes to life expressing, yes to spirit moving, yes to the art of living fully awake. And when you live this way, ordinary moments, again, become sacred moments. Not because the world has changed, but because you are consciously part of it. So walk away from here today not searching for something missing, but practicing the art of noticing, the art of choosing, and the art of being on purpose. Now join me for a minute for a spiritual mind treatment, where we'll kind of take this in a little bit. You can take a breath again. And we recognize that there is one life, one presence, one infinite intelligence, expressing itself everywhere and in all things. Life is whole. Life is complete. Life is forever creating, forever expressing, forever revealing itself in new and beautiful ways. And I recognize that this life is not separate from me. It is the very essence of my being, the breath that breathes me, the awareness that flows through me, the love that lives as me. Before form, before story, before identity, there is being. And that being is God expressing as all of us, right here and right now. And so today, I remember that I'm not searching for something. I am awakening to what's there. And I affirm this awareness is alive within me, that I notice, that I choose, and that I participate consciously in the unfolding of my life. I release any belief that life is happening by accident. I release any sense of separation or limitation. And I accept spirit expressing uniquely and intentionally through me in every moment, in every breath, in every encounter. And I know that being on purpose is not about perfection. It is about presence. It attaches me to no rigid outcome, but opens me to the creative participation in life itself. I trust the wisdom within. I trust the guidance that arises from awareness. I trust the infinite to move through me as clarity, as compassion, as creativity, and as joy. And so I walk forward awake to the sacredness of ordinary moments, awake to the beauty of conscious choice, and awake to the art that is living fully present. And I give thanks for this knowing. I give thanks for this awakening, and I give thanks for this life expressing as each and every one of us. And with deep gratitude and complete trust, I release these words into the law, knowing that it is already so. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you.